spat of rash appointments within the Gambia's foreign ministry continues to raise eyebrows and debate among the diaspora and foreign policy circles seeking answers as to legality and utility of an ambassador at large. As framed within Section 79, subsection B, the Constitution authorizes the President to receive envoys accredited to the Gambia and to appoint principal representatives of the country abroad. The term principal here denotes ambassadors and consuls, and nowhere is an ambassador at large mentioned. Diplomacy, in simple terms, is a byproduct of relations between nations. In bilateral and multilateral terms, diplomacy is often termed as an art or practice of conducting negotiations between nations. In foreign policy terms, however, experts define the term as a profession, or activity, or skill of managing international relations, typically by a country's representatives abroad. How does recent appointments fit into this arrangement? Well, according to Foreign Policy magazine, an ambassador at large is one who is not assigned to a particular diplomatic post but is appointed on a special mission. This ruling seems vague, necessitating further clarification. Turning to the 1970 Republican Constitution, and the watered-down 1997 version, there is no mention of such a post, or privileges. On Section 79C, however, the Constitution gives the President power to negotiate and, subject to ratification by the National Assembly, the conclusion of treaties and other international agreements. My understanding is that an ambassador at large is one who is not appointed to a foreign post, but travels to various places carrying out special duties. So what's the point of our real ambassadors then, Mr. President? In American politics, such an appointment is conferred on one with special duties who may be sent to more than one government with a specific message from the president. In Gambia's case, however, this leads to more confusion as to why a tiny country as ours, having accredited diplomats around the world, would make such rash appointments with no legal legs to stand on. We have heard of sports ambassadors, business ambassadors, but those are vague terms conferred on citizens who achieve or did extraordinary feats. Basically, ceremonial terms, and certainly, every Gambia abroad is an ambassador for their country, projecting the good Gambia image around the world. The diaspora being a true testament of that showcase in magnificent ways, indeed. And as the country embark on a new era rebuilding external relations and partnerships, the government must learn from recent experiences that the Gambian people have voted for a new direction and a rethink in foreign policy, not favoritism, nor cronyism. There are legitimate questions here, if, in fact, those appointees are salaried, and on what terms and conditions of issuing diplomatic passports. Looking at the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, 1961, clearly, JAMA has overstepped the process by issuing the country's privilege papers in exchange for monetary favors. Not again, and Foreign Minister Darboe is on notice that Gambians are taking a closer look. For accountability purposes, in view of a Freedom of Information Bill soon to be introduced in Parliament, pro-democracy groups aim to put in periodic requests of all persons issued with diplomatic passports, bar real ambassadors. President Barrow ought to be mindful of charges of personalization of the state, hence the Gambia's Republican Constitution is premised on the principles of separation of powers, checks and balances, all in line with the democratic process, values JAMA crushed. I further enjoin on him to regulate any more issuance of diplomatic passports, and to sign on each applicant before issue. Moving on, the issue of term limit has gone cold within this administration. One of the verbal agreements the Diaspora and Coalition 2016 aligned on was for the insertion of such roadblocks into the statutory book as a curb against perpetual rule. Let me remind the President that we are still here, that we hold these truths to be inherently dear to us, thus sacrosanct. When the issue last came to a vote at an ECOWAS gathering, the Gambia and Togo remained the only two countries to vote against the motion. For reputation, and his own legacy purposes, President Barrow ought to know that supremacy of the law supersedes seniority or privileges. The role of government is simply to govern in defense of the Constitution. I'd be remiss not to remind him that he has executive authority to authorize a cabinet reshuffle, or sack any minister not up to the job. Folks, you better recognize #new Gambia in a new era. Taxpayers deserve a return in more ways than one, and that also means competence.